The EPA is short-circuiting our power grid. Yes, big power blackouts, rolling blackouts, brownouts, these kind of shortages are looming in the very near future if something doesn't change course really fast. In an era where we have to worry about cyber and potential sleeper cell attacks on our electrical grid, the last thing we should be doing is posing further constraints that hamper the electrical power generation. Yet that is exactly what the Biden administration is actively doing through new regulations. My friends, I'm Greg Allison with the channel Green Gregs. Bring you this kind of news so you can survive, thrive, and stay out of the hive. And subscribe to my channel, bang the up notification bell, and click all my friends. Because on the 25th of April, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency initiated a series of regulations aimed at fossil fuel plants across the United States. The EPA has focused its attention on America's fleet of coal-fired power plants, which continues to be a critical source of power nationwide and the primary source of electricity in numerous states, like over a dozen. The suite of rules implemented by the EPA, which includes a series of technological mandates that are deemed unachievable by experts from the electrical suppliers and excessively expensive, will result in the sudden closure of many of the nation's existing coal plants. They will also greatly hinder the construction of new coal plants and natural gas power plants, too, which are under attack from other directions from the EPA and administration. Many of these were slated for closure across the U.S. due to the Biden administration pressure. This will essentially force closure of the rest. Despite the celebratory atmosphere at the EPA headquarters, the agency's plans to dismantle our core of our power supply has been met with strong opposition from the nation's utility, from the electrical grid operators, and from grid reliability regulators, the ones who are experts in these areas. For these individuals responsible for maintaining a steady supply of electricity to our homes and businesses across America, the onslaught of regulations from the EPA is incredibly ill-timed. Experts in the grid reliability and have consistently raised concerns about the current state of U.S. power grid, emphasizing the need for urgent action. Now, they warn that many parts of the nation could soon experience severe power outages, and these could have devastating consequences. The EPA has now practically guaranteed just that. Thanks, EPA. Anyway, the EPA's agenda is conflicted with increasing power demand from data centers, the resurgence of manufacturing investment, the Biden administration's push for the rapid adoption of electric vehicles, and the phase out of gas appliances in favor of electric. To make matters even more urgent, the Biden administration is trying to force the cross-country trucking industry into going electric all across the nation. The entire transportation industry is under pressure to go electric. Boy, we want our grid to really appreciate that. And even more important observation made by the North American Electric Reliability Corporation, NERC, which you've heard me mention many times in this channel. This observation made back in December was that crucial indicators of future electric demand and electrical requirements are increasing at an unprecedented rate. In the same report, NERC also highlighted that potential risk of increasing demand and closure of the power plants, which could lead to widespread blackouts in this country within the next 10 years, is right in front of us. But that is quite likely much sooner. Elon Musk has already predicted that the grid will not be able to meet power demands for the data centers required by AI just next year. Oh, yeah. NERC highlighted concerns about the impacts of strict environmental regulations on the smooth transition of the resource mix. I'll talk about that here in a little bit. So the EPA has consistently ignored NERC's report. along with numerous other warnings from the electricity industry and reliability experts. Surprisingly or not, the EPA failed to consult with the nation's grid reliability regulators regarding the potential impacts of its rules. Oh, why should they? They know everything, right? Jeez. Anyway, accordingly to the EPA, the incorporation of wind and solar power will effectively address the gaps caused by the retirement of coal power plants and meet the increasing demand for electricity. However, it is important to consider the practical realities rather than just indulging in risky, wistful thinking. Anyway, geez, as I have long stated, the intermittent power sources of uh, uh, these type sources are not ideal for replacing on-demand electricity provided by dispatchable coal and gas plants, which are also under increasing pressure from the administration. Like I said, the solar and the wind are intermittent. The sun's got to shine. You don't have to have clouds or eclipses or yeah, there's a lot of things that challenge it. The wind has to be blowing for your fan to be a blowing too. Anyway, unfortunately, the Biden administration's promised renewable energy build out is not progressing as quickly or extensively as initially anticipated. Ooh, yeah. Dealing with the current high interest rates, I don't know how that happened. Supply chain bottlenecks, we never talked about that here, have we? And local opposition to large scale wind and solar installations, they're finding this is posing very significant challenges to the implementation of these things. The lack of progress in constructing the high voltage interstate transmission lines necessary for the transportation of wind and solar power to populated centers is a clear example. The administration has emphasized the need to significantly increase the nation's interregional transmission lines within a decade in order to support a grid that is primarily powered by renewable energy sources. However, the rate of transmission is actually declining rather than accelerating, reaching a record low of only 251 miles last year. Yeah, that's pretty pitiful, right? 251 miles is all they managed to hit. The electric power grid in the United States is the most complex machine ever built, as I've often mentioned here. It provides instantaneously the exact amount of power being consumed across the entire nation via a vast network of supplies and distribution networks. And thousands of companies are involved in this, all integrated and stitched together and working together. However, this cannot be sustained given the current direction of the administration policies and regulations. What remains is a growing disparity between the power we require and the power that will be accessible to us. When faced with electricity rationing, skyrocketing power prices, and blackouts, there should be no doubt as to who is responsible. These warnings were incredibly clear. The this crisis is entirely self-inflicted, and the responsibility lies squarely with the EPA under the Biden administration. It would be better to wait until new power generation technologies and distribution technologies become widely available for trying to make such vast sweeping changes. These could include microgrids, these safer small modular nuclear reactors, which I've covered in a video on my Galactic Greg's channel. I think a couple of times I've covered that topic over there. Along with the molten salt reactors, which can reprocess spent nuclear fuel. I've talked about that. I've interviewed guys on that on I believe Galactic Greg's. I don't know if I've covered them here on Green Greg's. That's another one of my YouTube channels. Check it out, guys. So these are things we need to know. We also need higher current capacity power lines. There's some carbon fiber technology which seems to lend itself to that. We need geothermal energy and even nuclear fusion power plants when someday they become available. Maybe we need to get that online before we start pushing all this. We have a good way to go before we get there. Don't regulate changes so vast, so very fast. Anyway, in the meantime, what are you doing to meet your own power needs? Me? I'm going off grid. I'll share my adventure with this with you guys on this channel. So subscribe and bang the bell as I mentioned earlier. So what I want to say, guys, is I want to share my videos, share them far and wide. The platform just don't have a lot of love for me sometimes. So thank you one and all for watching. And with that, I'm going to say, rig out.